Welcome to Emotional Sobriety, the next step in recovery, with Dr. Allen Berger and Tom Rutledge. I visited Tennessee over the weekend, and I very much wanted to drive out to see you, but it was the first time my sister had invited me to stay with her at her house or to spend any significant time with her in like a really long time. And I just had the instinct, like I just need to be single-minded and like
you don't need to be trekking off someplace else. Yeah. Well, how was the visit?
It was very good. Yeah, it was good. I was fully expecting for there not to be any heavy talk while I was there about old family business, but there was a bit, and but I was, I just listened, and
that's the safe way to go.
Yep, she said she'd have me back, so that's the main thing.
That's good. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. My sister's been dropping hints, or actually, she hadn't been dropping hints, more than hints. She wants to come visit, and I don't want her to. So it's like so I'm changing the subject every time she sends that text.
You need to build a like a moat with like a portcullis and stakes sticking out.
We kind of have that. I mean, it's kind of not so easy to find us, but anyway, families.
I like this issue about finding the complaint department for reality and seeing if we could change the reality.
Isn't that a Ziggy cartoon?
DOGE, is that the new thing?
DOGE.
The government efficiency has just shut that down.
Their complaint department is just an AI.
We can't find it anymore.
For the best, I think,
Well, they haven't been listening to my complaints for decades, so
I was in a group last night, and we're going through chapter by chapter of this Eckhart Tolle book, A New Earth. And it just so happens to dovetail with our topic today, so I just thought I'd do a little reading. And this is from chapter 2. Whenever tragic loss occurs, you either resist or you yield. Some people become bitter or deeply resentful. Others become compassionate, wise, and loving. Yielding means inner acceptance of what is. You are open to life. Resistance is an inner contraction, a hardening of the shell of ego. You are closed. Whatever action you take in a state of inner resistance, which we could also call negativity, will create more outer resistance, and the universe will not be on your side. Life will not be helpful. If the shutters are closed, the sunlight cannot come in. When you yield internally and when you surrender, a new dimension of consciousness opens up. If action is possible or necessary, your action will be in alignment with the whole and supported by creative intelligence, the unconditioned consciousness which, in a state of inner openness, you become one with. Circumstances and people then become helpful, cooperative. Coincidences happen. If no action is possible, you rest in the peace and inner stillness that come with surrender. Now, the complaint department for me has disconnected phones. I cannot get a message through. Where I bring some of my lived experience to this recently is the speed run I had with my injury, rock climbing accident.
We usually refer to that as you falling off a mountain.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. I had to come to terms as quickly as I could with my physical condition and that my physical capacities had changed. And I'll tell you why. It's for a pragmatic reason. It's that I couldn't deal with the pain of the injury and with all the changes that the universe was forcing upon me, and also be in a state of resistance towards it, and be putting in daily messages to the complaint department, and approaching this problem with the expectation that was going to get me anywhere. Emotional sobriety, I guess, and the complaint department is I had to take ownership, and I had to find some way to accept my situation, and with the acceptance, some kind of power began to leach back.
Let me just add a short reading to your reading, because when you started reading that, I thought, oh my God, it fits perfectly with my morning reading from I read several books, but in the mornings, but the Daily Stoic is the one I use most often. And the quotation today is from Epictetus. It says, for there are two rules to keep at the ready, that there is nothing good or bad. I mean, this is a really challenging thing. And I think this is so emotional sobriety challenge, because people will look at it and go like, no way, that there is nothing good or bad outside my own reasoned choice, and that we shouldn't try to lead events, but to follow them. when I read that from a part of myself just even a short amount of time ago, I am so fucking offended by that. One more time, it's the serenity prayer. It's what I control and what I cannot control.
We're asked to manage our life by following rather than taking control.
I broke my ankle many decades ago when I used to be a runner, and I always said God couldn't get me to stop running, so he just reached down and broke my ankle. It's like, but I mean, there is no better description of denial than that. I broke my ankle. I mean, I jumped in a ditch full of water and it broke, and I heard it break, and I was in denial for 2 weeks that it was broken, and walking around on this, my colleagues put crutches under my arms, made me do that. And I kept saying, no, because I wanted it to be a sprain because it'll be over soon. They finally did an intervention, sent me to the emergency room. They canceled all my clients and sent me to the emergency room. And the short version of this is I remember the moment where the doctor was holding the x-ray, looking at the x-ray, and he said, your ankle is broken. And I said, without missing a beat, I said, it is not. I mean, I was insane. And it's like, and he said, you're going to have to go to orthopedist. I said, I'll go later.
You're a piece of work, Tom.
I mean, and of course, it was, a long time after that I actually was able to put that into the story of my denial, because I believed everything I was saying. But you understood the concept of powerlessness.
Yes, it was a little hard for him to be in denial as the helicopter was taking him out of the ravine, right? It was a little different situation. He's in a chopper, in probably immobilized. His neck immobilized because they were concerned that he hurt himself, his neck.
The denial was trying, though. Let me just tell you guys, the denial was trying.
I was going to say, I deny. I don't know, Alan, because I'm thinking denial can.
How were you denying it?
I was laying. So when I blacked out at the point of contact when I fell, and then when I came to, and I couldn't bend my knee, and I was covered in blood. I was thinking, well, maybe it's not broken, maybe it's just a sprain, and I could just stand up and kind of like, I can climb down. Yeah, I can kind of walk it off. And so I was trying to talk myself into that, because I could intuit. Did you
try to stand up at that point?
I mean, I was trying. I guess my brain was trying, but my body was not obeying. And so, yes, it was. Like I said, it was a speed run.
I love, Alan, the image, and because I think it's hilarious from this point of view, but it's like, I think any of us who've dealt with denial in the face of ridiculous things, it's like, we'll get it that he's being airlifted with a helicopter pulling him up, and his denial is talking to him. He's sitting there going, okay, here's the deal. And it's like, and that guy is sitting right next to him in that cot or whatever he's on, and just talking to him about how it ain't that bad. It's like, that's how powerful the denial is. I mean, how else could I get behind the wheel of a car every day of my life with alcohol in my system? It's like, denial, man.
What is the emotionally sober way to file a complaint with the universe's complaint department?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny you say that, because in one sense, being that outrageous and shouting about things shouldn't be this way is a way to get to acceptance. See, a lot of people skip over that step. And we may be guilty.
Our brain says, "Oh, we should know better than that." So but the truth is, it's what I tell my clients all the time. I don't need your rational thoughts in here, because your rational thoughts are not giving you any trouble. I need to hear your irrational thoughts, because those are the ones. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Denial. We're talking about all the most ridiculous, irrational thoughts and otherwise sane people. And I love what you said. Shout it out, because the first thing I thought was, oh, you write the letter of complaint and then you set it on fire. It's like, it's like,
it and say address unknown and just put it in the post box. I mean, go ahead and post
Oh,
it.
that would be beautiful. That's a great assignment. I think we'll do that one.
Just put it in, but reality complaint department, right? Address unknown, and just put it in the mail. I mean, we could do stuff like that. But see, I think that Tom, it's right. See, if we allow ourselves to be absurd about this stuff, and we allow ourselves to go down that road. I mean, what was it, Blake, that said, if a man persists in his folly, he will become wise. I mean, that's what we're looking at here, is that if we really, really go down that road, at some point, we will realize, oh my God, we will have that moment of clarity. But you can't, it's like you can't, we can't impose that. It has to be a byproduct of a process. You see, we can't command it. I'm going to feel this way. I'm going to think this way. We can get there, but we have to follow a certain process in that process.
Yeah, and with the intrapersonal model that we use a lot of times, you got to let everybody be heard. It's like the truth is the people, because what we will do is so often, and I include myself in this, if we're not careful, when we're looking for help with this stuff, we want to look smart and wise and recovered and that kind of stuff. So we don't share the stupid things, the crazy things that we're thinking. And I think, Alan, that's one of the things that probably you and I have. I'm thinking it's a good thing. One of the things in common is we encourage that. And it's like, I mean, I hadn't thought about it until you just said that, but it's like, I always tell people that I said, I will never shame you. I'll never judge you. And I think that everybody that's worked with you could testify that that's not the case. I said, I will always make fun of you. It's like, and I'll say that to people who know me pretty well. And it's like, but that's what I never thought about, but that's what I'm doing. I'm making fun of that shit so that we can laugh about it, so that we can see the ridiculousness of it, but not to shut it down, but just to say, isn't that interesting how we have this in common?
And by laughing at them, you get them into the spirit of laughing at themselves.
Humor is perspective. When a good comedian, a good observational comedian says something, and you're laughing your ass off, but what you're saying is, oh God, that's right. That's exactly the way it is. And so that's why I always refer to what Alan and I do, the comedy stylings of Berger and Rutledge. It's like.
Yeah, that's right.
I heard yesterday, self-awareness without humor can be a tough pill to swallow.
Humility comes into play with all this stuff, right? Bill talked about that is a cornerstone of emotional sobriety. Right? Real maturity, he says, and balance, which is to say humility in our relationships with ourselves, with others, with God, and with life itself. And look, you could say that he was a Stoic, man. I mean, there's no question about it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's one of the things I love about when I started getting into Stoicism. I was going like, oh my God, this is 12 step. It's like, but the other thing that where was I reading that? I think it was Tony DeMello that was writing about the fact that there's no new wisdom. Wisdom shows up in all of the schools, in Buddhism and Christianity and in 12-step recovery, whatever it is, it's going to be there, and it may have different language, but that's one of the fun things to go like, oh man, because haven't you? I mean, I say this to Alan just because we're older and been doing this longer. It's like. How frequently, I can't count that high, have we looked at stuff and realized once we have that realization, that's been there the entire time. At 70, I'm really doing that a lot. I'm going like, wow, what if that's been there the whole time? Wonder what would have happened if I'd gotten it when I was 30.
Well, as a bit of a joke at the top of the episode, Alan, you brought up DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And it got me to thinking about we're in an era now where we're gonna have a lot of complaints. And I was in a taco place near my high school that I've been going to for more than 20 years yesterday. And I'm sitting in there. There's some high school kids, and I just picked up my order. and then an ad comes on the TV from Kristi Noem and Donald Trump telling any illegals, quote unquote, need to deport themselves, or we're going to do it for you. And I just felt this shame, just this like wave of just like, and I looked around and everybody in the restaurant saw it behind the counter and sitting there eating. And I just felt like, man, so the kids saw this. And this is like, and I imagine myself going to high school and coming here for lunch afterwards and having to watch this Gestapo ad play. And so I think in the era of complaints, it's about finding a constructive vessel for them, and for me, that needs to involve helping other people or finding some way to kind of ameliorate the damage that we're seeing visited upon human beings, and this kind of dark time we're living through, and it's easy to feel powerless, but like act, think globally, act locally, right? We just got to think of ways. And this of course will medicate our own feelings of powerlessness, and it's a way of remaining emotionally sober is taking action. But I do believe these ripples extend outward. So.
Well, and this, one of the scary things about those young kids is this is their normal. Ours is a little bit different from yours because of where we are, where we live in history, and it's like one of the things the scariest about this is these young people are, I mean, how much of these high school people, how much of their life has this been the government? How much has Donald Trump been president? Alan, I remember Watergate.
We can accept it, but, there's also channels for us. There are a lot of people demonstrating now. I mean, there's demonstrations taking place. I mean, I remember what happened in the 70s, right? When I came back from Vietnam. I mean, my God, change is possible when people rise up and have their voice. And and that's it's happening. It's happening right now.
We can't control, but we can influence it. It's really important, and that's the piece that we come back to. How do you influence? Well, you influence by going back to yourself. You can do influence by making that. It goes back to the stuff. There's nothing good or bad outside your own reason and choice. My own reason and choice can be to participate in influencing change, and we do that, and we feel we feel better because we are better.
I was in a very unusual training program as an undergraduate. It was there was only one other one in the United States, and it was an undergraduate program in community clinical psychology. And what we were trained in community psychology was social activism, mobilizing a community to give voice to an injustice, to give voice to a policy that is, counter to the intent of our Constitution, right? Things like that. And it was a remarkable program because you really saw that by going into a community and having certain conversations, you really could stir up people in a positive way to start giving voice to things and to writing their congressmen or showing up at town hall meetings and voicing their opinions and stuff, and where these people felt so anonymous in the whole system that they were able to start to feel that they had some identity instead of being anonymous. And that we got to remember that is, yes, we cannot create change. We can try to be a voice to influence it and to inspire it.
The courage to change the things that we can. And that's the point, is the change that we can always start with me, with you. They come from the inside out, and that's how we participate. You can't, because otherwise, I mean, I'll put myself around the front lines of, it's always easier and it's always tempting. And I always got a guy in my head that we can look out and blame somebody else. Talk about how somebody else is stupid. Are they stupid? Maybe, probably. I mean, I'm right about that. Does that do anybody any good? Back to the complaint department. Does that do anybody any good? No, it doesn't help.
Well, you guys, on another note, I had my surgery Monday.
Oh yeah.
My toe. So the surgery I had several months ago, when they removed the toe, scraped the arthritis, put the toe back on and put a plate on top and screwed it in. the fusion never took place. So the joint kept moving. And what that did is it put pressure on the plate that was on top of it, and the screws started backing out, which would be a wonderful CIA torture technique, because I would have told you anything that you wanted to know when one of those screws were backing out. It hurt like a mother. And
Oh man.
yesterday or 2 days ago, they went in and took the plate out, took a piece of bone off of the heel of my foot, did a bone graft, put my toe back on. They put some kind of hardware on to kind of keep them together until it fuses. And so now I'm into day 3 since the surgery.
Wow, you're something made of Legos or something, man.
I'm going to be the bionic man. I swear to God. What was it? What was his name? Steve Rogers or
Steve Austin?
Steve Austin. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, talk about accepting the things you cannot change. This time I am being a model patient, mostly. Last time I put weight on my foot too much, so I'll take some responsibility for screwing up that operation. Mm-hmm. This time they said 2 weeks, no being non-weight bearing. Well, I can't tell you how naive I am in terms of understanding what that means.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to not put any weight on one of your feet.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know that, don't you? That's right. Both of you.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, talk about the challenge of that and stuff like that. Like carrying a cup of coffee, you can't do it. I mean, I have to drink a cup of coffee standing in the kitchen now. If I want to eat my breakfast, I have to stand next to the sink. I mean, it's no carrying the bowl to the table unless someone's there to do it for me, and there isn't any. I mean, it's amazing. How did you manage all that, Patrick?
With great difficulty. But it's easier to be doing it than to be waiting for it, right? Or to be thinking about it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm glad that we're in the process of healing this thing, because I couldn't go on with the pain I was feeling. Not that the pain has been less right now. It's a little bit worse than it was before, but it's to be understood. I mean, they did a lot of work down there. So
kidding.
I'm in a soft cast. I'm in a cast and I'm on crutches. So, and I'll tell you, I don't know about you, but my core muscles have never worked so much as they work on those crutches.
That's the good news, is you're going to be getting a 6-pack soon.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that? Did you feel the core workout on that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's amazing. I don't know why they don't put that in the gym. Yeah. Put it in crutches in the gym and have a guy go through the up and down the hall a few times. My God, it's a great core workout.
Oh, wow.
So how are you getting by, or how are you dealing with it emotionally, all of it?
I think I'm dealing with it okay. I get anxious at times that oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this, or this isn't going to work out, and then all of a sudden it all works out. Like this morning, there was a lag between when someone was here to help me and then when Gail came to help me. And in that space, I got a bit anxious about what the hell is going to go on. How was I going to, get set up for this meeting and stuff? All the chairs were not, I pushed them away somebody pushed them away last night. So it's little stuff like that would be thoughtless before, right?
You would not, you didn't even think about it. Yeah.
Oh, those little things are a big goddamn production. It's amazing how a shift like this can have such an impact. So, I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to get by 2 weeks of this stuff, right? It's like, well, with, I hope a little more patience than I've had at this point in time, and just being able to accept that this is that I really want to be a good patient, because I don't want to do it again.
What you read about, what I read about, what we're talking about is about perspective. It's like pan back, get here's how you get the truth. You pan back and look at the bigger picture. Okay, what's true? What can I do? What can I not do? It's okay. You're going to be fine. It's like, does that mean your legs are going to be fine? Does that mean the thumb's going to be fine? We don't know that. But your spirit, who Allen is, who Patrick is, you're going to be fine.
And talking about that takes, really the development of a solid sense of yourself. that I can handle this. Goes back to the conversations we had about self-esteem before in a Thursday night workshop, right? Which was videos are available for people to go listen to and, really put a plug in for that. If you guys really want to dig more into this emotional sobriety, Patrick has created a YouTube channel and posted over 200 videos now. And there's many playlists on emotional sobriety and self-esteem, differentiation. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful resource that take advantage of. And we talked about self-esteem as having those two components, right? Self-worth. And what we're talking about here is a self-confidence that, hey, I can manage this stuff. I can handle what's coming down the pike. I can deal with this stuff. I've got a sense of, Dr. Nathaniel Brandon calls it self-efficacy, right? That I can be effective in this world and deal with whatever I need to deal with. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about, God, wouldn't that be great if all kids that went through adolescence came out of their adolescence with that sense of themselves? I mean, my God, we'd have such a healthier society, wouldn't we?
Oh my God! It's so often, even with the best of intentions, the opposite happens. We don't help people develop into who they can be. We try to get them to be who we want them to be, and not just us as individuals, but our culture. That's one of the things I'm getting from reading that book that Joe introduces to, the Gabor Mate book, The Myth of Normal. It's like, wow. But I also wanted to say, because recently we've been talking on the Thursday night thing about your concept of adding more self. When in doubt, add more self. And I've seen questions I think on the Facebook page and maybe in the chat during the meeting and stuff, like what does that mean more specifically? What you just described is very much what it means more specifically about adding more self, because I always think, I love it when people ask that question. It's one of the best questions I learned it from neuro-linguistic programming more than anything else, to ask people, rather than just think you understand what something is, tell me specifically what you mean by that. Give me an example of that. Like if they say people do this so and so, what people? Which people do that? Okay, because it may be these people over here, it may be the people inside my head. But the more specific we can get with any of this, takes us toward self-efficacy.
Good show. My foot is talking to me, gentlemen.
I'm glad you're through that, man, and I hope you heal quickly.
It's so great to see you, Alan. I'm glad that it seems like the surgery, at the very least, you're on the other side of it, and hopefully everything mends up.